Welcome to the JAWN podcast. I'm your host, Shalia.
And your host, Janina.
And today we have a very special guest in the building, y'all. We have Chiquita from Chronicles of a Virgo podcast here with us today.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for the invite.
Of course.
Shalia's outnumbered today. Virgo's in the house.
Hey,
Right.
it's almost our season. Almost our season.
So we're going to open with our words of affirmation. Today's affirmation says, make sure you're listening to, watching, and surrounding yourself with positivity.
That's important.
Very.
I needed that one today.
So the word of the week is accountability. Accountability, the obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's actions.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability means facing the consequences of your choices, words, and behavior. Accountability means talking to the person we are upset with rather than talking about them. It means being a little more assertive so that we can face up to difficult conversations. It means hanging on to ourselves so that we can choose to act rather than react to circumstances or other people.
You stole my word that I was going to do for next week because my whole session that I had on Monday was about accountability, and people are just not accountable for their actions. So I gotta come up with a new word now.
It'll come to you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like also we don't hold a lot of people accountable. And that is kind of like what perpetuates toxic behavior too, by us not holding people accountable, parents not holding them accountable. And a lot of times, like, you know, just that's part of parenting, holding yourself accountable and your child accountable.
It's a part of adulting too.
Right. Well, I mean, once you're used to, as a child, if you're used to holding yourself accountable and others accountable as a child, I think it's easier once you're an adult. But like to start accountability as an adult makes it harder.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know that a lot of times people just look at what the other person did and not what you did to cause the person to do or act the way that they did. So that has a lot to do with accountability as well.
Yeah, I was watching Housewives today, and Candy, Sheree basically confronted Candy about her saying stuff negative about her business. And it took her so long to take accountability for what she said. She literally was going back and forth with this woman. And the woman was basically saying all these instances where she could have bad talked Candy's business, but she didn't. And then it was like, at the end, Candy was like, well, I apologize. It's just like, why did you even go back and forth with her? When she first said it, you should have just apologized. You was like, well, the website wasn't working and blah, blah, blah. It was crazy. I was like, Candy definitely is. I used to see her as non-problematic, just like a placeholder, but she's very problematic. Yeah. And I think she's starting to realize it too, because she's been getting in a lot of arguments this season.
Yeah, I can't do it no more. So let's check in. How's everyone doing this week? How are you, Chiquita?
I am trying to stay in the flow of things, like just working on existing in the moment and keeping in mind like my goals, things that I have to accomplish and things I need to do without trying to like stress or worry about it, because that's just going to like make me sick.
Right.
So just trying to keep my head level, stay positive, you know. But otherwise, I think I'm doing okay. Been a little struggle lately. Like, y'all know, I'm honest when it comes to especially my mental health. So definitely hit a hard spot within these last couple of weeks. So I'm just trying to just maneuver my way through.
Okay. It's good to be honest with yourself and try to, know what your goals are to not put yourself in a stressful situation unnecessarily. So
See, that's the
that's good.
accountability.
It is. It definitely is. What about you, Janina? How are you?
I'm okay. I still always feel like I have a lot of things that needs to get done and not enough time. But the last day, yesterday, I like basically chilled. I did nothing. I got me a facial and I just like chilled at home, took a nap. But I'm trying to like redirect because I do feel like I'm lacking some motivation for some things. So I'm trying to redirect.
Okay. I think we gonna need another episode on mental health. Mental health and it's just I say every day mental health is you gotta be working on it every day in order for you to have a positive mindset and things like that. It's not like, oh, I went to therapy, I reached my goals, and now I'm good. No, you still gotta be working on it, working on yourself. So, I don't feel good today. I've been pushing through. I had to apologize to my clients because I just wasn't as present as I would be. And thankfully they understood. But it's just hard to try to help other people with their problems and you're not feeling good. So I just felt bad. But today is my 2nd year transplant anniversary.
Whoop
So
whoop.
I'm thankful for that. So I'm doing good. I just need to figure out like what is wrong, like as far as what kind of illness I got, or maybe it might just be
Probably
a
just a
cold.
cold.
But I haven't had one in so long. It's like now I don't know how to deal with it or
Yeah.
what to take. So that's
Because
that.
everything been COVID. These last couple of years.
Yes. So it's like, let me make sure I don't have COVID.
I
But
know.
yeah, I'm cool.
It could be allergies too.
I've been taking my allergy medicine diligently because when I go in new environments, my allergies always act up. So I don't think it's allergies.
Or
I don't know.
sinus. Yeah, who knows? It could be a sinus
It could be
infection. Who knows?
anything. So I just gotta figure it out. So, but okay. So, oh, I like that joint. Nope, I don't like that joint or prime time. What y'all got this week?
Go ahead, Chiquita.
Okay. So I think we're gonna be positive, okay? Positive today. So I'm gonna do something that I like. More recently, so I watched the Essence Festival because it was streaming for free on Hulu like all weekend
Oh,
from
wow.
Friday to y'all didn't know?
No. Oh my God,
gosh.
did not know
See,
that.
I'm gonna have to add y'all to the list of people to send stuff to.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it was streaming on Hulu for free from Friday to Sunday. And like the headliners for Friday, the main headliner was not Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill.
The headliner for Saturday was Missy Elliott. The headliner for Sunday was Meg Thee Stallion.
Okay.
Everything was in Central Standard Time because they were in New Orleans. So I missed some performances, but I got a plug. I'm gonna hook y'all up. I found somewhere where I could watch like certain performances and stuff that I missed. So I watched Missy and Meg and stuff because I love Meg. But I was just watching like all the performances that I could because I've never been to Essence and I've always wanted to really go.
I want to go
Me
so
too.
bad. We should plan a trip. I want to go so bad.
That'd be so dope. And it was just like, just sitting there, I was just soaking up the culture, just soaking up us because they were continuing the celebration for 50 years of hip hop. So they decided to honor Black women. So like, I mean, Eve was there, Remy Ma. Eve's performance was awesome. For her to just had a
Eve
baby
is
like a year.
amazing.
Yes.
Eve is amazing. She's so underrated when it comes to female rappers. She's so humble.
Yes.
Eve is like amazing. I love her.
Yes. So I was like watching that. I missed Janelle Monáe. But one part, like it all was amazing. Everything that I saw was amazing. But one part that to me was really good was Salt and Pepper and Spinderella performed together.
Oh wow.
Oh, so they made up, huh? They must have ran her coins.
I don't know. Angie Martinez did her little 2-second little song, whatever. But overall, like I don't know, like this, it's the smallest things I try to just be grateful for, even though that has nothing to do with me, but it does, you know, as a Black woman, to see Black women just
coming
show
together
up so unapologetically them, and just, you know, just be and grace and just a positive environment from what we saw, you know. And again, one of the hosts was just hilarious. Again, Baltimore stand up, you know. So to like know where she came from, whenever I see her like on a Breakfast Club or doing shows, I'm like, you know, this is what it really means to like get it from the mud, you know, come from where you come from, and then now you're here. Even though, you know, people can say what they say about you, that doesn't stop your grind and how you show up. So that was my little positive spill.
Okay, cool.
So my I like this joint is it's a documentary on Max. Yeah, I think it's on Max, called How to Create a Sex Scandal.
Oh
yeah. It was good. It was crazy. You ever watch documentaries where it's a twist? So it's like the narrative, like you're not really sure what angle is going, and then you find out it's going in a whole nother way. So that's one of the ones where, like, I mean, because by the name of it, I wasn't sure like if it was a real sex scandal or not, but it isn't. But but it's a scam. I mean, yeah, but it's good. And also a podcast called Scamanda about this girl who was scamming people and telling people she had cancer and all this stuff. So
Amanda.
Wait, that happened in real life though.
Amanda.
It was a girl on TikTok that did that.
Well, I don't know if this girl was on
lot
TikTok.
of times.
This girl, she got 5 years in jail. This is a real girl. It's called Scamanda, but the podcast is called Scamanda, and it's about her story, and they interview people.
What, you remember what her real name is?
Amanda something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To look for that.
Right. Yes. It's wild. It's wild. It is wild. But it's a good, I think all the episodes are out. I think I listened to it on Apple. All the episodes.
The confidence that people have in scamming, like,
7 years,
crazy.
7 years. I mean, she had her church. She had people.
Please.
They were giving offerings for this lady.
I can only imagine.
She did it for 7 years.
Listen, you go on TikTok, everybody on there is begging. I'm not gonna say scamming, but begging. It's beg talk, literally beg talk.
I told him, I was having this conversation with someone. I said, maybe, and this was such a joke, I'm like, maybe I should just quit my job and just become a panhandler. Like, no offense to like anybody that's dealing with anything. However, like if you've seen some of the FYP stuff that I have seen, those people legitimately don't work, and some of them, it comes out later that they have been well off in their life, and they're just taking advantage of people that really buy into their sob stories.
Their stories, yeah. So now I be skeptical. Should I help? Shouldn't I?
I know. And my daughter, she loves to help people, but because she be like, you don't ever give them no money. I'm like, Ava, because everybody out here, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, some of the things I don't understand, because we pay taxes for a lot of programs, and I don't feel like a lot of these people utilize those programs. As a woman, especially if you got kids.
Philadelphia got all the programs.
Right.
That's the one thing I miss about living in Philly is the programs. So yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of people out here that's just begging. So my I like that JAWN. I watched this documentary on mushrooms on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi. It was good. It taught me a lot about different mushrooms and stuff like that, especially now since I got into the mushroom coffee. I also watched this story on YouTube about a lady who had cancer, and she started taking a mushroom called yellowtail mushroom, and it cured her cancer.
Wow.
So it was really interesting talking about the mushrooms, their medicinal properties, things that they do for the earth and all of that stuff. And then I watched 1001 on Peacock with what's her name? What's Iman Shumpert wife name?
Oh, Tiana Taylor.
Tiana
I saw
Taylor.
that. Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know if I just was emotional, but I was crying so much in that movie. It just was like, what are you crying
it wasn't
for?
just me.
No,
I didn't cry, but it was a tearjerker though. I will.
Yeah.
It was.
Did you
The
see it,
ending
Janina?
threw me.
Is she like a mother or something?
She was in jail. Well, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, I do gotta
It
watch
is
it, but I know
good.
she had 2 movies, so I was just saying that's the one when she was like a mom.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and so I feel like they're gonna make another one because the ending was like, well, what happened?
Exactly.
Well, I listened to when she was on Angie Martinez IRL, and I think Angie Martinez was saying that she was bawling when she watched it. So
yeah, I was like, girl, what is going on with you today? Because I just was crying and crying and crying.
No, yes, I watched this other documentary, which I was gonna put that on my I like that joint. Well, I guess I can. But anyway, I was bawling. It was.
Sometimes I'm overly emotional, and certain things bring out other, stuff that I just been packing away. So I'm like, I had to self-evaluate, do some evaluation. Like,
You was crying that much?
Yes, from the
my
very
God.
beginning, I was
wow.
crying, and
At least I know I'm not the only one. So.
At least I know I'm not the only one, because that's why I was like, I had to do some self-evaluation on myself. Like, well, what?
I'm gonna watch that.
But it was really good. So, yeah. All right, you gotta hit this joint up is where we highlight a small business. And this week we're actually highlighting a winery out of Maryland. It is called Boyd Crew Wines. And their slogan is "Wine is a Mood." So only 1% of winemakers in the US are Black. And Boyd and Crew Wines is the first Black family-owned winery in Maryland. So the founders are Matthew and Janelle Boyd, and they have a strong standing love for wine. They actually built this. They wanted to do this business, but they kind of kept putting it off. But then during the pandemic, when they lost some loved ones, they were like, okay, what can we do to kind of make their legacy live on and to honor them? So they started the winery. You can order their wines online. Their website is www.boydcrewwines, and that's spelled BOYDCRU wines.com, and you can follow them on Instagram at Boyd Crew Wines. So make sure y'all support this Black-owned winery. I got all this stuff on my list. Stuff I plan to do, but I do want to do in Maryland one of the crab feast things. They have like this 90 themes crab feast that I want to do. So I'm figuring while I'm there to do that, then I could do this too. So yeah, make sure y'all hit them up and support them. So we're going to get into this week's episode topic. And this week's episode topic is the myth: Black women are angry. So what do y'all feel about this? Are Black women angry? Are you angry?
Well, I feel like each situation is different, and context is very important when you are trying to label someone as being like angry, sad, whatever the emotion that you're giving them. Like, context is huge. And I know one thing that a lot of Black women and Black people in general say is it's not the fact that we're angry. We are just very assertive, or we feel strongly about something. So it just comes out. And that's how people perceive us to be. And I think for some women, Black women, that is the case. Like when I am like trying to state my claim and I am so strong about this claim, I may raise my voice,
Right.
I may start using my hands and doing a whole bunch of things. And it may be perceived that I'm angry, but in reality, I'm not. I'm just very passionate about the topic of discussion. And in some cases, that's why I say context is big, because in some cases, I feel like, whew, some people do have a lot of deep rooted trauma, anger, and hurt. And it could be the smallest thing that sets them off.
Yeah.
And because that has been their norm for all their life, they will feel like this is my comfortable state. This is me. I'm not angry. I'm just me. But in reality, like, no, baby, like you are angry, So I just think it depends,
Yeah. I think it's a myth. It's a myth. We're not angry. It's a lot of, again, like you said, the way we express ourselves. However, if we are angry, we have a right to be angry, because a lot of us have been through so much that we haven't dealt with, that we haven't found a safe place to talk about it, or a safe person to talk about it to. So sometimes it comes out unwarranted. So for me, like I was saying, I had to do a self-evaluation when I was watching that movie. And I've had to do that too in times where, say I was in a store, something may have happened and I may have went off. So then afterwards, I had to do a self-evaluation, like, well, why? What is going on? And then it's
Yeah.
like, you've been holding in all these emotions. You had a tough week. And now this one little thing is setting you off. But a lot of times people don't understand that we've been through a lot and still are going through a lot. So in all actuality, I feel like sometimes we have a right to be angry, because guess what? Parents are out here, they're angry. They're not getting, labels and things like
Well, I mean, I
that.
think
So
we are
yeah,
starting to
now.
flip it, because like the whole white women tears thing, that's something that, have been taking lives and, been hurting the Black community for a really long time. And now, certain people are becoming woke and they're able to see how a lot of white women are weaponizing it. It's the opposite of, what happens to us. Like, if we are upset or if we are demonstrating, frustration, then we are restrained. If a white woman is demonstrating that, she has people that come to her rescue. So it's just, it's unfortunate that Black women aren't allowed to be at the end of the day. Like, we're not a monolith. We should be able to feel different emotions. I personally have been in some situations where I see women go from 0 to 10 all the time. Black women, white women, all types of people, because that has a lot to do with your mental health, period. A lot of times when you are not in a good space, then your frustration, you have low tolerance. So for me, I also been in situations where I was like just talking to somebody regular and they'd be like, wait, no need to get upset. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
all I'm saying is my
Yeah.
burger was cool. Like, no need
Yeah.
to get upset. So, I mean, the whole trope of Black women being angry is a way to weaponize Black women and a way to make us all seem like a negative, it's, to me, it's never in a positive way. Like, oh, Black women, like, I just feel like we have to be like 5 different things, and it's kind of obnoxious. So you're like, okay, well, Black women, they need to stand up and they need to speak up for us, and then Black women, they need to be quiet and let the man lead, and then there's Black women, they need to support their Black man, and Black women, like, it's always so much on our back, and it's like, but there's like, y'all want our voice when it's beneficial to other people, but like
Right.
when you standing up for yourself, that you angry. That's what it all boils down to. It's like, when you standing up for yourself, you're complicated and you're difficult.
Right.
And that is just a way for people to silence you, honestly. It's a way for them to silence you and discredit what you're saying in that moment of passion, in that moment of you maybe, not having the tools to get your message across in a certain tone so that the message is heard and not the delivery. You know what I mean? But that comes with growth. Definitely comes with growth, because like I said, I've seen, like, I was even in a situation, and the bad part about it, honestly, is that so many people in our community will lash out at each other, not actually be protective of us. So, like, I was somewhere, and I guess I didn't say excuse me, but I really was like laser focused on like getting back to my car because my kid was in my car. You get what I'm saying? So I was like dropping my daughter off somewhere. So I went past the lady, and I guess I didn't say excuse me. And so like she was about to go in on me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, like, sorry. Like, it's not even that deep. Like, I didn't bump into anybody and knock nobody over. It's not that deep. Not my kid, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay.
Yeah. But again, I think sometimes people are looking for that small little thing because, again, they have all this built up animosity or whatever, and so that small little thing is what sets them off. Yeah, but again, I feel like if someone is angry, they have a right to be angry, because Black women are always showing up for other people. I know recently it was a thing with the passport bros. It was like,
oh my
don't
God.
show up for them, because Black women were the ones that were sending them money to get back home, and oh, we need to take care of this man. And it's just like, no, we don't always need to be there for everybody else, because we're not most of the time there for ourselves like we are there for everyone else, which is why sometimes we explode and we're angry and all of that stuff.
And then people wonder why the statistics around like mental health and suicide for the Black community is so high. And as you said, like, Black women wear many capes. You are expected to fulfill many roles, and it takes me back to what Taraji Henson said, because initially I didn't understand and I had to go watch the whole entire video, but she was like, I don't want to be labeled a strong Black woman anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, what you mean? But then,
that
like,
was the other topic. Yeah.
I was like, it definitely do make sense, because people will always look at you to be this one way, and like, you're not supposed to react because you're strong, nothing is ever supposed to affect you. And then when things do affect you, it's like, well, wait, why are you acting like this? It's like, bro, like, I have emotions, I'm human, like, this is what it is. And I literally had just saw a video on TikTok where the neighbor who was white called the police on the one family because they were doing a gender reveal. They didn't have any sparks.
I saw that.
Saw it. The way that the white officer was antagonizing this Black woman after she said numerous times, we don't have any fireworks, we don't have nothing else. He's like, well, you're hostile. And she's like, no, I'm not hostile. I've already answered your questions. Like, what more do you want? He's like, well, I'm recording, and so is the. And then he called. I think he eventually like tried to call for backup, but that just shows like sometimes people, they can't get a reaction, but they expect it, and they'll do any and everything until they get that reaction. You know,
and then you're the problem.
Yeah, but like, you started all this. Like, this is your fault.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. So that whole strong you're so strong, you'll get through this. I don't tell people that anymore. Because sometimes you don't want to be strong. Sometimes you want to be vulnerable and you want to express your feelings. We've been strong for so long, and so many of us have dealt with so many things that we barely even talk about, that hardly nobody knows that we've went through. And then it's like when you sit down and when you explain it, people are like, I never knew. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't make it a safe space for me to tell you. You know what I mean? So no, I don't want to be strong anymore. I want to, fit in and do everything that everybody else is doing. I don't want that label. So if you want that label, you want to be strong, then you can take that on. But
Yeah, I think it's a kind of like misconception that strength is like to me it's a spectrum, in certain aspects you may have more strength than another person, and in some other aspects you may like be very like weaker, you know what I mean? But being strong does not also mean like, oh, I'm bulletproof, you know what I mean? Because
right.
you can have something that's strong but it's still beat up, it still has damage on it, but it's still operable.
My
You know
car.
what I mean? So that's the whole thing. You said your car.
Yes.
Right. But it's like it still needs maintenance. It still needs tender loving care. It's things that it still needs. Like not like, oh, well, you can just throw anything at it. It's good. Like we don't have to me, that's what people perceive. Like when they say somebody is strong, that means that we can neglect them and they're gonna be fine. And like,
Right.
no, like I may be able to not need as much, but I'm still in need, like today is not good. Like,
Yeah.
but that whole thing, everything to me, a lot of it, especially us being in America, it boils down to white supremacy. It boils down to, well, we did so much to these people and they still stand it. That's the part that's so crazy. It's like they use our resilience against us, right? But then flip it. Because I was watching this lady, it was a clip or something. It was like, so you're saying that the same people that built this country is lazy. The same people that built this country for free is lazy. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But it's just when it all boils down to, some days a motherfucker is gonna be angry.
Exactly.
And it ain't got nothing to do with me being a Black woman. I could be angry because some shit really happened. And that's the whole thing. If I was a Latino, then I would be feisty. I would be fiery, right?
Yeah.
But a Black woman speaking her mind, being vocal, being communicative is considered angry. Just that's the whole thing. Like when they say, like a woman in corporate America, if she's assertive, if she's standing up, she's a bitch. But if it's a man, he's a boss.
A
You know what I
leader.
mean? Yeah, and it's like, or if a woman says this is what she wants, this, like she's a diva, or like, oh, she's complicated. It's just sexism at its greatest. And then it's like for us, for Black women, it's like sexism wrapped up with racism. It's like, Jesus.
I have a coworker, and we work together and we're close friends, and she's white, and she always tells me like, man, I wish I was as strong as you are. And the last time that she said that, like literally a week ago, I was like, well, what makes you think that, what impression do I give you that I'm strong? And she's like, because you're just able to just tackle things head on when it comes your way. You don't show no emotion, like all that. Like she was just running it down. She's like, I would never be able to like take on the obstacles that you have and just be strong. And my response to her was, I feel like when people start looking at each other as humans, right? Being okay, we are all human in the flesh. like we are, meaning we all have emotions and feelings, right? Some people do not do as good as being vulnerable in all spaces. So you may not see every certain emotion. So just because it appears that I don't be boohoo and crying, like trust and believe,
Exactly.
like life be life, and like I
You
be
don't know
boohoo.
what I do when I go home.
Right.
You don't
Right.
And I
know.
mean,
I think it's offensive. I think it's
mhm,
offensive for especially someone white to tell you that, and it's like, I'm surviving.
yeah.
And like, you don't really know what my strength is. Like, I'm not walking around like with a strength patch. Oh, 10 out of 10 today. Like, you don't know what my strength is. That's your perception of strength. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, that's her perception of strength. Like, oh, I would just crumble. She don't know. You haven't even been addressed with the things I've been addressed with. So you honestly don't know how you would be able to deal with it. But it's just like, I was listening to this podcast today, and it's about these women went to was doing IVF and got egg retrieval done, and were told that they were given fentanyl for pain, right?
Mm.
The nurse was stealing fentanyl and replacing it with saline.
Mm.
So these women were having egg retrievals with these long needles inside their productive organs being done. And in the moment, they're telling the people, because they're supposed to have twilight. They're telling the doctors, they telling the nurses, I can feel this. I can feel this.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, we done gave you the most, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, it happened to a lot of people. And it's like, you guys just dismiss, like, it's just weird. Like,
But again,
Yeah.
it goes from because they have the perception specifically for Black women, right? That you're
Mhm.
strong. So, and I've never given birth before, right? But I have friends that have, and I've seen stories about women who complain about complications
yeah,
during childbirth, and it's ignored because, oh, you're just drug seeking, you know, like, you know, it's just, it's horrible, of course, to even stereotype a person that way because, oh, because you're a Black woman, you can just take on anything. Because at some of us, and I say I use that word some very slim, some of us want to be seen as a person that endures different emotions and feelings. Like when you say I'm strong, I haven't got to the point where I take it as an insult. Yes, I do look at it as a compliment because I don't perceive myself to be weak, right? But at the same time, I feel like when you or anyone thinks that I'm strong, you feel like I don't need to be checked on. You know, I feel kind of like unseen because you feel like I can tackle everything. And you know,
exactly.
you always see people saying check on your strong friends. Yes, because those people you always perceive as strong, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are strong in them all the time or in that
Mhm.
moment, you know,
Yeah.
but they may
Yeah.
be just being strong for everyone else around them because that is the the narrative that everyone placed on them. Oh, that's my strong friend, so I can always go to them when
Right.
I have problems. And
Yeah.
they good, they have coping skills and they can handle. No, like we're all still
Yeah,
human.
I don't even understand it. I feel like it's unfair because nobody starts a relationship and say, "Oh, girl, don't worry, I'm your strong friend." Like, no, check on me,
Yeah,
period. Like, we friends,
Yeah.
so check on all your friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
yeah,
know. Like, I think people are putting their own definition on who they consider labeling people things. People could have you labeled as things and you have no idea that they
Right.
put this label on you. And you're like,
right.
oh, well, that's not how I see myself.
Hmm.
Oh, really? I never even knew that people thought this of me. So, like, perception is everything, because things that you may do that other people may perceive to be like a demonstration of strength, you don't see it that way. You just like, well, this is just something that I'm good at doing, or this is just something that I always do. It's other things that people do that they may perceive as being weakness, and you may just perceive it as, this is just something that I'm not good at. Everybody's going to have weakness. Can't nobody be good at everything.
Right.
The reason why I find it as an insult is because for me, when I've had specifically white coworkers tell me that, I found that they've always made it known, and then I've always been given extra tasks or been given extra stuff because it's like, oh, well, she can handle it. I can't handle it. She can handle it. So that's why I find it to be an insult, because it's like, not only are they saying it to you, but they're saying it to other people. And then now these other people are like, oh, well, she's strong. She can carry the weight. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not, and I don't want, before that would be okay, I can do it, let me show them. But now no, I'm doing what I came here for, what I'm paid for, and I'm not doing anything extra above or beyond that, because I'm so strong and I can do all of this. But when those promotions come around or when those raises come around, guess what? I'm being passed over.
Right.
Keep
It
that
took a
to
while for me
yourself.
to realize that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it took a while for me, like, to realize that sometimes you're put in positions only because people perceive you to be a certain way. Or sometimes people just hand things off because they don't want to do it. Well, give it to Chiquita because she can tackle anything. My previous supervisor used to always be that way, which is how I got stuck with the responsibilities that I have now at my job. And I looked at it like, oh, okay, that's good. Like they like me, right? You know, you just starting at, they like me. But like you said, when those raises and things start to roll around, and those end of the year, when you meeting and you're finding all these things wrong that I did, not that I'm problematic, but sometimes you have to have one thing on that list wrong. Like you can never just be perfect, and I've always been the person, unfortunately, to go against the grain. Like that is probably going to be me to the day I leave this earth, because if something is not right, I'm going to speak on it. And unfortunately, I am in a department where everyone does not always feel comfortable enough to speak up. Chiquita does. I'm going to say what needs to be said,
Yeah.
And even now, like just navigating, like I'm not the first one to volunteer for anything. Hey, even if I have the ample amount of time to complete what's being asked, I'm just like, nope. They'll figure, no offense, because I've always been that person. But until recently, I didn't really see it that way,
Yeah. It took for me to become ill. And when I was in the hospital, it was like, not, hey, how are you? It was like, well, when are you coming back to work? Because and it's like, when I do a job, because I know how I've had to leave jobs previously, I'm doing it so where if the next person comes in, they're not going to have any, everything's going to be there. And one of my old coworkers said that to me. She was like, Dad, I had to take over your caseload, but it wasn't hard because you already had everything organized. Everything was up to date. You know what I mean? So it's like, once I realized that was the thing, and then again, I was working myself into sickness and doing all of this. But at the end of the day, I wasn't getting no promotions or anything like that. It's like, you got to put yourself first, not this job, because for what? For what am I overworking myself for? What am I volunteering for? And then I say my ideas and then y'all steal it and don't give me any credit for it. You know what I mean?
But you know what I started doing, and this probably comes from like my years of like working in mental health and working with different therapists and things. Like, how therapists counselors are, being the type of work that you do. You listen to what the client is saying and you state it back to them, and then sometimes they'll be like, oh, I didn't see things that way. I just repeated what you said to me, right? So with my job and stuff, at one point I felt like, especially throughout COVID, it was a lot. Everyone was trying to figure things out with what's going on in the world. And they kept talking about like wellness and health and take your mental health time, but they wasn't being fair as far as like the tasks and different things. The type person I am, I'm be like,
The
how do
biggest
y'all
gaslight ever. The biggest gaslight.
I'm like, how do y'all try to hold these standards about taking care of yourself? And we literally have meetings about wellness and health, like not even every quarter, like every other month, every other week, whatever.
Yeah.
I started throwing it back to them. Like, y'all emphasize on this, like weekly, if not monthly. You know what I'm saying? So don't you think that you should take your own advice that you're given? And again, I'm that person that's going to say it, because one thing I do not have a problem with personally is taking a mental health day. Like, I am going to use my PTO, whatever I got to use, my floating time, any buyback, whatever. I'm going to use it for myself. Like, that's precious. You don't get that time back, you know? And I'd be encouraging everybody to take.
So what was their response? Because a lot of these places speak their mental health and all of this stuff, but they don't actually know what it is, how to do it. You know what I mean? So what was their response?
So, my mother has always said I talk too much, right? Like,
that's the Virgo in you.
Yeah, she's like, some stuff you just no, but I always feel like if I leave certain parts of things out, it's not going to give them a clear understanding of where I'm going with this. Myself, within these last couple of years, I have dealt with some horrific health issues, from autoimmune to being diagnosed with Lyme disease to like, just I've had some horrible things that I didn't even know existed, right? So my supervisor at the time, I had no choice but to be honest with her about everything, because some mornings I would get up and besides being angry and like sick, I just couldn't move. I didn't feel like going to work. So I didn't want it to seem like it was a bad pattern of me like calling out. Sometimes I would start my day, and if you've had autoimmune issues, you'll know sometimes you can feel really good in the beginning of the day. By lunchtime, your body done shut down. I would have to leave work early. So I've had those discussions. Now, thankfully, my past supervisor, she was okay with that. And there were times where she'd be like, well, how does your workboard look? I'm like, it looked like it's going to look tomorrow when I come back, because I'm not about to stay and finish that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not about to stay and finish it out. And the thing is, like, if I can't get what I need from that supervisor, I'm going above her head, because I'm not going to jeopardize my well-being again, which partially put me in this position, you know, just so a work board can get done, and you're not even doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not even doing nothing. So with that particular boss, I didn't get any pushback, again, because I just talk. I'm gonna say what's on my mind, what needs to be said. Unfortunately, I know other people that have had health issues and mental health, and they did not get the same result that I did.
Yep.
They did not get the same result. And I'm just like, whoa, like, I didn't understand, because then I start feeling like, and I don't know if you ladies can contest to this, I started feeling like I was only getting the help that I needed or things to go my way because I was Black. Because
they knew that you know what you know when you speak the way you speak, and they don't want you going above their head or beyond. I've had that happen to me.
Because some of the ones that were not getting things in the field, they were white. My bosses are white. But anything, I don't know. I've dealt with that on numerous jobs where it's like, I don't really have a problem with confronting the supervisor, because things can kind of go in my favor. Whereas the other people, they're like, bro, like, it's something about you, you know? So sometimes I just be quiet on certain situations, but it's also interesting because I realized more so these last couple of years that even being a Black woman, my experiences look different from yours, from my friends. And I'm just like, well, I already talk a lot. So if any way I can use my voice, you know, to like help or just stand in solidarity with other people with things that I'm not dealing with, but I see it, I'm going to do it. And I think I've been doing it, you know?
Yeah, just be careful with that though.
What, taking up for people?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't just jump. I don't just jump out there. Nah, but like, I feel like my spirit guides.
Stab you on the back.
Oh, no. Yeah. I feel like I'm more guided when I do that. And I've never like been wrong, you know what I'm saying, in any type of way. And again, when it comes to like my job and work, I don't play about that. because you ain't about to play with my money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not about to play with my money. So yeah, I try to keep it as cordial as possible.
Yeah, just tread lightly. So I did a little researching about the whole myth of Black women being angry. So one article was saying that this whole myth is meant to control and undermine Black women, to punish us when we express even slight and reasonable indignation, pain, or irritation. And it's to protect the status quo in which Black women and girls are often treated as interchangeable, irrational problems instead of human beings, which we talked about. It was also saying that anger often serves as an internal signal that something is wrong. So if someone, back to, pretty much everything that we were saying, if someone is angry, then something else is wrong.
Yeah, like they said like depression doesn't look the same with,
right,
the same
Black women.
Within Black women. And then also, I know they were saying studies showed that Black girls were disciplined harsher in schools than other races.
Right. And then too, that took me back to when I remember one time I was at a store, and I worked at this store, and it was something with a customer, and I remember a male coworker like, calm down. I'm like, you don't even know what's going on. So why are you coming from wherever
It's
you
like
was telling me
kryptonite
to
of Black
come?
women.
Yeah.
Telling somebody to calm
Don't
down.
tell me calm down.
Especially if I'm not hype. That is
Right.
kryptonite. Like, no.
So
Trigger
don't
word.
don't tell me to calm down. And so it was saying that anger serves as an internal signal that something is wrong, that an injustice has occurred, or action must be taken. We have much to be angry about.
Much.
Gender equality, unfair treatment based on race, health disparities, Black infant mortality, racism, all different types of things that, we're angry about. And again, this goes back to Chiquita. I'm not sure if you seen a Dr. Umar interview that he had on his podcast, but it was going back to, even he was addressing that Black women take on so much, especially after the whole mass incarceration of Black males. Black women had to be the mother, the provider, still had to go to work, still had to make a way out of no way. And it's like carrying on all this heavy load. And it's like the people in the neighborhood, especially the Black males, they were never stepping up saying, how can we help? What can we do for you? How can we support you? And so sometimes that's just what we need. And for me, I'm not a hugger to unknown people, but sometimes I just sense that sometimes people just need a hug, or you'll be surprised how many people you ask how they're doing, and they'll spill their whole, whatever's going on with them. Sometimes people just need a safe space to talk and share what they're going through, and oftentimes we don't get that. So
it was a girl a couple months ago, and I did see that clip of Dr. Umar, because I was like, Lord Jesus, what's going on? I actually agree with this man.
Right. That's what she said.
I actually agree with him. But it was this girl a couple months ago. She was on TikTok. I be in the TikTok streets, y'all. She was crying because I guess she was having a bad day, and she asked a stranger for a hug, and he gave her a hug. And she said she hasn't had any human affection in so long. And a lot of therapists and psychologists start doing videos talking about the importance of human connection, for one, but just like that feeling, some of us live alone, so we may not always have someone there. Like I'm a I'm an overly affectionate person to people that in my space that's comfortable. Like, I'm not just gonna walk up to a stranger and be like, hey, give me a hug. But you know, I can sense things too. I feel like, I don't know, Virgos are very like sensitive, like, and very empathetic. So we can sense like people's real feelings and emotions before someone even tells us. And I'm always that person that'd be like, look, don't ask me how I'm doing if you truly don't care. Like, don't ask if you just want to just sound like it because it sounds good, but like, ask because you truly want to know if something is wrong or how can you be of assistance. Because like you said, sometimes people just need someone to listen to them. They just need to air out whatever's going on, and 9 times out of 10, once they get it out, they're fine. But I really don't think people realize like human interaction is so important to like our everyday development, you know?
Right. It is. That's why they punish men by putting them in the box and cutting them off from everybody. It's
And
humanizing.
Living in the world we are in now, everyone is trying to do everything, every niche they see on social media. You know, it look good, I'm gonna try it, but it does not necessarily always work for them. Like, I saw the Dr. Umar video. I also seen clips of things that TD Jakes has said about a woman can't tell him how to be a father, or, you know, but there are women out here that are mommy and daddy. Like, you can never like physically, you know, be that man, but you can fulfill the responsibility. That's just my opinion, because I know some people would disagree and be like, no.
I mean, sometimes
you know,
it's not something that you want to do.
Right.
I think what it is, I think it's a difference of picking up another person's responsibilities and gearing, like, basically I feel like a woman can never like teach by experience of how to be a man. You get what I'm saying? But like, for instance, if taking a son to the barbershop would usually be his father's responsibility, and now I have to do it, that I have to step in and take his responsibility. If going to his basketball game and, you know, doing certain things that normally his father would do, I now have to take that responsibility. I don't think I'm being his dad, but I'm basically, you know, that's just like if you work somewhere and your coworker's not there, you have to take on their workload, but that don't mean that you're now that person. You know what I mean? So it's you're picking up the responsibilities, but all children will benefit from having two productive parents, you know, regardless. Just putting all the responsibilities on one person wears them down. So I mean, I'm a believer that in some cases a child is better off with one parent who is a healthy person, as opposed to having, you know, a mentally ill or toxic parent, male or female, whoever it is. I just think that the more sane and stable person, you know, it's a lot of people who grew up without a father, and there's a lot of people that grew up with a toxic situation where their father's beating their mother's ass all the time, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, every situation is different.
Definitely. I was asked recently, how have my parents, you know, me as a Black woman, what can I say my parents have been, how have my parents been impactful to my life, right? I explained how my mom have. I said the most impactful thing for me as a Black woman that my father has done for me was walked away from me when I was a couple months old. I said because he was not physically or mentally in a position to properly care and support me how I needed to be as a child, let alone growing up. And he did not inflict any unnecessary trauma and hurt on me because I didn't go without, because my family is predominantly Black women anyway, you know, and it's, you know, that's kind of like the thing, like Black women standing up for whatever they need to do, responsibilities, not crying about it. We just going to do it. And that's what my mother and my aunts and them did. And yeah, so sometimes you just have to look at things a little different, right? Like, my father wasn't there, but that impacted my life greatly.
Yeah,
in my opinion, you know?
Yeah, and that's the part that people don't look at. So it's all about, you know, being open-minded, seeing it from talking, because that's the problem too. We make these assumptions about people and you don't really know. Oh, you didn't grow up with a father. Oh, well, this and that. But that may not necessarily be true because you don't know my
Yes.
story. So
Some people, right? Some people grew up with a father and he was drama. And so you're like, you maybe never had to even deal with that element. You get what I'm saying? But I mean, there's other emotional elements I think that comes in play when you do have a missing parent. A lot of people, you do deal with abandonment issues, or you may deal with like not trusting people or believing that certain people aren't going to be around. You know, it's just different elements, I think, where parents' behaviors become a reflection in their children's lives. So I mean, everybody, like, I know for me, I feel like my parents didn't have real life conversations with me a lot about like things that I would encounter as an adult or things I would encounter with relationships with other people. But I think that I feel like they kind of lack that themselves. It's not really like until I got older where I started having some conversations with my mom about her experience as a young mom. But I don't think they really, and that's the thing, like, it depends. Like, if you grew up where your parents is just like surviving and their main focus is to make sure that, you know, you guys got lights, you guys got food, like a lot of times they're not really thinking about your emotional development. That's something that I think our generation is trying to rectify. But it's not, I mean, I don't feel like I had a horrible childhood, but I don't think that like I really have a lot in common. But my parents were always supportive of me. So that was one thing that like me as a parent, I always feel like I have to be there for my kids, because my mom was always there for me. Like, even to this day, any of my nieces, they have kids, they want my mom there. They not even worried about their mom being there. Like, my mom got to be there. So I don't know. I think, and the whole angry thing, and then I know when people say things like, I feel like when like a older Black woman is really sweet, like people like make sure that they do say that, like, oh, she's a sweet lady. She's
yeah, because some of them older people do just appear to be always angry in some instances. You know, like even with my work, I have to deal with a lot of older people. And initially in the beginning of the phone call, I would be like, oh my gosh, like this is about to be one of them. But like y'all said, this whole conversation, like you can't always jump to conclusions on what you think a person is or how they're going to be just because of the tone, right, of their voice, or like maybe like the words or accents sometimes even make people think, oh, they're this way and they're not really not. Listening to what people are actually saying, and you'll be like, well, damn, they have a lot going on, so I can see why they may feel this way, you know.
Right.
Instead of like trying to call a spade, like, oh, this is a problematic person, like, why don't you actually sit and like educate yourself on our spaces? What can help us? How can you like change the stigma of the angry Black woman? Like, I never liked that term.
I feel like we're always tested on a curve, but the curve is the opposite way. You know what I mean? Like when you take a test and everybody ain't do so great, you're like, okay, we're gonna get our grade bumped up. Black women, they're gonna be like, we know that you really gotta be on this, okay? But we gonna say you gotta see. And I mean, in addition to like, just to add, like with what Dr. Umar said about the 70s, I mean, that to me was like not even, that was just like the next phase. I mean, in the 30s and the 20s, like they were lynching men, you know, and like they were lynching people who were the sole household provider. And driving. Black women could not get any job besides being a maid. And when these people had these women in the 40s, they had them in their house as a maid. They were not providing them with W-2. They wasn't paying into no Social Security.
Listen,
Yeah.
I also that goes back to why some of these older women that are our grandmom's age are the way that they are. They're stern, they're forceful, because they had to be.
Yeah.
They had to stand up for themselves. Because at one point, when I was working in retail, I would say, these older Black women, they so angry, but the Black men would be so sweet and nice. But then I had to stop and realize, like, they've been through a lot. They've always had to be this way. So a lot of them don't know how to be another way. You know what I mean? So
I think
unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is that you mentioned from the 70s is still going on now.
Yeah,
like the last election, the midterm, I can't think of the accurate name, but literally slavery was on the freaking voting cards down in Alabama. Like, so some of the stuff, unfortunately, that Black people as a whole were facing at one point, we're still facing it now. Unfortunately, you don't find out about a lot of those things until something abruptly happens, right? And unless you got your cell phones out recording where we can see it on the internet later, it doesn't hold any reference, you know?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing with, like, even with the most recent, I guess because we didn't do current events, with the whole recent Supreme Court ruling. And
affirmative action.
And it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, they don't understand it. It's not an even playing field.
No, it's not.
So it's not an even playing field. So you're telling me now it's a possibility that my thing is, how does these establishments try to maintain some form of diversity? You're not allowing they won't be able to. The world is not undiverse. Like, so I'm just like,
do you see how uncomfortable?
I was like, this is exactly why my kids won't go to HBCU. I was just like,
listen,
but
I wish I would have went to HBCU.
I'm glad that I got to. I wish I would have did it undergrad, but I'm glad I got to experience it in grad school. But even with that, it was surprising to me because we had a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot, we had a few white males. And
they benefited from affirmative action when it comes to HBCU, because they try to maintain a certain level of having minorities, you know, too. Because
let me tell you something.
Rachel Dolezal, didn't she have like a whole lawsuit or whatever?
They tried to make they were going to make this white male the like, apparently they said he had the top GPA, and people was like, hell to the no. Like,
what? So they wouldn't let him be the valedictorian?
Well, he was, but it was just like, how does that look for us? You know what I mean?
At HBCU, making a white person the valedictorian.
Yes. I mean, so what ended up happening?
It's a historically Black college. It's not like, oh, Black only college.
Right. But what ended up happening is that him and the female who was
right below her.
Right below. Well, they were like neck and neck. So they let both of them walk and hold the flag and all of that stuff. But a lot of times it came up in discussions. Are y'all uncomfortable? Because like, we're literally sitting here talking about you. So, and I know when I went to when I was at the PWI that I went to, I've had encounters with the white girls that I will say associates now. One of them said to me like, "Oh my God, you're so smart." And I'm just like,
as if you're supposed to be dumb. Like, I never got that.
I know.
One of the white male, like for me, when I'm around people I don't know, I don't say a lot. I observe and I say what's necessary sometimes. So in that particular class, I never said a lot. I would say something and they would sit back and be like, wow. They were like impressed. So this one white guy, at the end of the semester, we were talking about like each other. He was like, yeah, Shalia, you know, she's just a woman a few words, but her words, they hold so much impact. Like some of the stuff that she said, I just would have to sit back and be like, wow, she really said that. And I'm just like, I'm offended because you're trying to say like, you didn't think I really knew what I was talking about. But the life at a PWI, if I can make it,
I can internal biases.
I would, but
or just assuming all Black people are here because we play sports. Yeah, so like, you know, like why can't we just be here because we're actually smart, or we wanted to go to this institution, like,
or they expected me to speak a certain way, or you know, they would say like, you're always dressed up. Like, no, this is how I dress. I'm not always.
Why do you feel like you always got to comment on stuff? Like, that's the part that blows me. It's like, mind your business.
Yeah, they don't get there. Like, no, I'm not dressed up. This is how I dress. So what's the problem? But yeah.
Well, I agree. I agree the fact that Black women are the blueprint. Like we are the blueprint for a lot of things. Like we are the creators of a lot of things that you see now on social media. But the unfortunate part is we don't get the props that we deserve for creating certain spaces and organizations and different things. But when a white person step up and they take what we have put out there already, they get all these accolades. They get y'all see it, all the brand deals, the sponsorships, podcasting, like, yeah. And we have to work like, I don't even think it's hard. I think it's like triple, quadruple that sometimes just to have a space for us without having other people push their way in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot, but it's a myth. We are not angry. And if we are, I stand by it. We got a right to be. So
now let me ask you this question. Sorry if I took this off topic, but like if we have a reason to be angry, right? And everyone's experience and situation is well within their rights. Do you feel that at some point it is up to us to take accountability for how we handle our emotions and things?
Of course. That's why I say,
but I don't think
we have a right to be. I still feel like we see a lot of Black women lose their only Black son, right?
Right.
And you'll see her being emotional and angry and crying, and people will try to quiet her and comfort her. No.
Let her be.
Let her feel her emotions. Let her feel what she wants to feel. And that's the reason why I say we have a right to be, because a lot of times when our emotions are genuine or we're feeling what we're feeling, it's like, oh, trying to quiet you down or comfort you and all of that stuff. So let people, and that's how you handle those emotions, by getting them out, because so many times and in so many places and so many rooms, we're not allowed to get our emotions out. We're holding them in, and then we explode, and then that's when it's problematic.
Yeah, I think the whole myth is Black women are naturally angry. That's just who they are, right? As opposed to Black women, just like all women, experience the emotion of anger. But the beautiful thing, in my opinion, is that a lot of times when Black women do get angry, they get shit done. You know, like that's how a lot of Black women wind up running for office, or you know, trying to make change and starting organizations, because they were angry at something. You know, like look at Trayvon Martin's mom. You know, yeah. But that's not what they want.
Yeah. So. I just like, the reason I asked that is because it shows like that it doesn't matter necessarily what we go through. We're going to be how we are, and it's always for a valid reason. Whether the reason is valid to you, you don't matter in that sense, right? You as in the outsider perceiving me to be angry. You know what I'm saying? And when you brought up like just as a Black mother losing their child, I thought about the mother and son recently, where the son shot the guy for, his mom, and people are like mad that they got out of jail and different things. But again, I just feel like, for what? Because if it was a white person doing it, y'all would not be.
But it just goes to show that Black women are so disrespected and deemed subhuman by all people. Right. So it's like, if you as a Black man who came out of a Black vagina, you don't have the emotional intelligence to just walk away without putting your hands on a woman, that you're an abusive person. That's what you do. You don't have no limit on who you abuse. So it's just, I mean, it's unfortunate that Black people in America are very damaged by white supremacy, that they hate, so much self-hate within the community. Like, this is somebody's mom. You got a mom, so you need to chill.
You had twin daughters. You listen.
Yeah.
But what's that saying? The most disrespected or
person is a Black woman.
A Black woman.
Malcolm X.
Unprotected, disrespected, all of that is the Black woman. However, we're the ones that's always standing up for everybody else, and
right,
a lot. So, any last or final thoughts y'all want to share?
Be nice to us.
Right. Protect us the way that we protect y'all.
Yeah, or just like stop jumping to conclusions when you meet. Like, I feel like a lot of Black men, not a lot, I'm not gonna say that. There are some Black men, especially in the age that we're in right now, where people are putting microphones in front of their mouth and they're spewing all of this, self-hate, that they'll say like, I don't date Black women because they're angry or whatever, basing it off of like one or two experiences with a Black woman who probably just, you either treated her badly, right? Maybe the person before her treated her badly, maybe her father treated her badly, whomever, but you are now classifying everybody. And I see it often, and it's like, why does that only happen to Black women? I don't hear other people saying that, like, well, no, I don't date white women because of this, like a specific reason that is a blanketed statement. You know what I mean? Like, I almost gave up on Black women. I was watching couple therapy. You ever watch couple therapy before?
I see some clips from
I was watching couple therapy the other day.
I'm trying to stay away from stuff like that, because a lot of times, no, seriously, a lot of times these people who get microphones, they're doing stuff to go viral, or they're saying stuff so they can get.
No, couple therapy is
not couples therapy. Yeah. I'm going back to when you said people get a microphone in front of
these men.
Yeah, so
they say stuff for shock value as well.
Yeah, and it's just like, go. You don't a lot of times, like, you don't even have your stuff together and you're intimidated by this Black woman, which happens a lot. So
happens a lot. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate also on the Black woman side that a lot of Black women who are super successful, they feel like they can't shine being in a relationship with a Black man, and so a lot of times they date outside of their race. I think that's unfortunate. And to intentionally date outside your race because of a past experience with someone of your own race. I mean, you probably just ain't find the right one,
But it's slim pickings out here, so that's another thing, a whole nother topic.
I would truly love to see Black women just being able to get out of survival mode.
Yes.
And just really just thrive.
Live.
Yes, just be, without having to worry about having a target on your back and having to worry about just people not understanding you, because a lot of times I feel like a lot of us really do feel misunderstood.
Yeah, for sure.
And until the shoe is on the other foot, people are not going to get it unless you take the time out to get to know us.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to get into a game that we play with our guests.
Oh, I almost forgot.
You almost forgot.
I did. I was like, oh, I don't need my notes no more. Okay, so the name of the game is the category is. So the category is self-care. So, it's a Spitfire game. You pick one of the two things and you don't have time to think of it. Whatever the first preference that comes to your head. Okay. You ready?
Yes, go.
Okay. A massage or pedicure?
Pedicure.
A nap or a run?
Run.
A cup of coffee or a cup of tea?
Coffee.
Lay out on the beach or by the pool?
Pool.
A weekend getaway or a staycation?
Getaway.
Brunch with girls or lunch alone?
Brunch with girls.
A trip to Vegas with Bay or a trip to Miami with the girls?
Miami.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Online shopping or shopping at the mall?
Online shopping.
Okay.
Girl, I ain't been in the mall since before COVID, honestly. So bad.
The mall gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I feel like it's nothing at the mall, honestly. Last time I went, I'm like, this store closed, that store closed.
Yeah.
What the heck is going on?
And me, I go out early before like the crowds start getting out to prevent my anxiety. I just go out early.
Yeah. So give everyone your social media and where they can find your podcast.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank both of you for having me on your lovely platform. I am a fan of your show.
We appreciate all the support.
Yes, and I also thank you for educating me today and filling me with some things. Not too many times I don't think people can go on other people's platforms or have certain conversations and be like, you know what, maybe I can do something more, So thank you for that as well. So you can find me on social media, Chronicles of a Virgo podcast. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter as well. And my podcast, Chronicles of a Virgo podcast, is on YouTube and all of your streaming. So Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you listen to your podcast.
And what day and time does your podcast usually drop on?
Yeah. So right now I am in a hiatus, aka I'm in a break. I'm in a break. So this past season, my shows came out every Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. Honestly, I do not have a date for my third season. So that's to be announced. But yeah, so right now I have 2 seasons up, over 50 episodes. So if you care to go,
awesome.
Yes, if you care to go check out some of them, please by all means do so.
Yeah. We gonna be on your heels if your break be too long now.
We gonna talk. We gonna talk. But yeah, and I'm always open to collaborate. So when I do come back, you ladies definitely have to be a part of Chronicles of a Virgo.
For sure. So y'all go check out Chronicles of a Virgo podcast. Show her some love while she's taking her break. Listen to some of her episodes. But we definitely appreciate you for coming on, for collaborating with us. We appreciate the conversation, you being open and vibing with us, because everybody's not a vibe.
Listen, I try. I try.
So we definitely appreciate that. So again, y'all go show her some love, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Hold up. Don't leave yet. Thanks for listening to my mom and auntie. Make sure you guys follow them on Instagram at @the_JAWN_podcast. On Twitter at W_the_J. On TikTok at the JAWN podcast. And visit our website www.jawnpod.net. Don't forget to ask the JAWN, sending your listening letters to thejawnpod@gmail.com. Period.
This is the JAWN, a podcast. I love y'all. Be forward.